as playing it and recording in the way they did in the 1930s. 1930s, an artist you'd pay an artist, come in, I'm going to record you, whenever you're ready, hiss, noise, whatever. And you could hear in the recordings the guy saying, okay, we're done, can you come over here, I need to do this with you, or sign this or the other.
You'd have the train running through the background.
Yeah, pretty much, it was very live, very rough. These artists from the blues era, specifically that era, were hired guns for music. Like, I'm supposed to record you, 5 songs, can you play that a little faster, a little slower? It didn't read so well. And these were artists that weren't mainstream artists. So this music was never really meant to go mainstream. It was meant to be one specific genre for one specific
And a lot of it too was done, some of the recordings started out as trying to capture the history of the blues.
Cataloging.
Some historians actually went down to start cataloging it. And then RCA Records, I believe it was. Wasn't it RCA?
I believe so.
Realized what they had and started going down and doing recordings as well in hotel rooms that they'd rent, and invited anyone to come and play for them, and then they would release the record to see if it hit or not. And then if it hit, they would invite them back. So Son House was recorded quite often. Robert Johnson was recorded very often.
That style in that era, that whatever you could find to play. I mean, maybe you couldn't afford a guitar, you'd had a kazoo. You played that with all your heart. And
diddley bows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's get into the diddley bow. So tell me. I mean, look at this lovely one above you. That's a diddley bow, right?
Yep. Actually has the capability to play it. It's initially the first. It's considered a children's instrument. Basically, young kids that wanted guitars, think guitars are expensive. What they would do is they'd take a couple nails, string them wide up on a barn, on your back wall of the house, on a board laying around, stretch a fencing wire across the two, and throw on a bridge of some sort, which is that wooden triangle. And you take a heavy piece of metal and usually some type of pick, either being a nail or something that wouldn't rip your hands apart, and you start playing it like a slide guitar is played. It's a single string slide guitar. And the legend is that as the kids got better, if you were proficient playing the diddley bow, and there's a lot of photos out there in the 30s of kids playing diddley bows along with the older members of the band playing the instruments.
How do they work?
So you have this string, and then with this metal nut, you have to hold it, and then you drag it, you move it across, slide it, kind of like you're using it as a guitar with that finger. When you use a guitar, some people have a plastic finger to slide.
Real instruments like guitars and such, that if you were good enough, they'd get you your own guitar. And so it's considered the child's first guitar.
It's like a rites of passage. If you can play this, you can cut your teeth with the good guys, with the big guys, with the adults.
Exactly.
As you were way on your way to becoming a rock star, so to speak. So it's a neat little instrument. I think to some degree it's probably the most democratic of instruments. You could find 2 nails, some sort of string, and a piece of wood somewhere. It doesn't have to be pretty, as long as the sound comes out and you can modulate it, it's good.
Yeah. And actually they say, so the bridge itself, we have a lot of them made with wood. We made probably 10 diddley bows for the show. And so we found that the bridge, if you use glass, if you take a bottle and stuff it in, it works very nicely with the sound. It actually resonates really well. And the piece of metal that most people play with a slide guitar, these are all socket wrenches. A lot of people actually have the real slide guitar piece. These are often called bottle tops or bottlenecks, because if you take the neck of a beer bottle and use that on your diddley bow, makes a beautiful resonating sound. So your beer bottle stuffed in the bow and the other beer bottle used to play it is a great sounding diddly bow.
Interesting side note. Apparently, there's one artist that still uses the little silver socket wrench, and it's a specific size and has a specific craftsman number. And a lot of the guys don't buy a real high-end piece of metal. They just go down to Sears and they fit a finger and they go, that's the one I want, because it's cheaper to some degree than the official brass piece. So.
Yeah.
But bottlenecks and pipe, you just would find something that wouldn't cut you up too bad and you'd play.
Yeah, and the big recommendation with bottlenecks is drink your beer before you play.
This is true. At least finish most of it.
Please.
We wanted to have a way of explaining diddly bow to people. And I thought typed instructions were informal, would have had their own merit. We would have had a little coil of wire and paper and general instructions. But it just so happens that most of the lighting that we use is IKEA, and I kept looking at their program and thinking, they make everything. I mean, if you want a bench, probably described as Bruntesh, you could build this. And I thought, well, this is cool. And what was more authentic to me regarding the diddly bow and the universality of it was that the instructions weren't in English. They were visual instructions. And I thought, you could drop anywhere in the world and hand them this little thing that says diddly bow, and anyone could build this thing. You could make it yourself, And I thought, as an homage to IKEA, because we have all their lighting and some of their furniture, use what they got and move it forward in keeping with musicians and people of the time of the blues.
Yeah, so that was completely Omar's idea and plan. It made me laugh as soon as I saw it. Fabulous. The other step that he wanted to do, and we ran out of time, because that always happens, is he wanted a diddly boo kit. So not only with your instructions, you would have gotten a piece of wire and 2 nails, stapled into a bag on the back of your diddly boo instruction manual. Yeah. Or the manual tucked inside. I don't know which, but we ran out of time for that.
we really wanted people to leave with a CD and a diddly bow. And, maybe next weekend when they've had maybe 1 or 2 beers, they could string one together and just play and enjoy things for what they are.
Yeah, they would have had to find their own hammer and piece of wood, though.
This is true. And like the manual says, a 6-pack of something that you can play with. It's materials. We were mainly looking for materials.
Exactly.
There you go. So it's kind of like a 1-string guitar.
There you go.